The Office of California's governor has criticized the police response to violence on campus at the University of California, Los Angeles. A masked pro-Israeli group assaulted a pro-Palestinian student camp before officers were called to the campus. Governor Gavin Newsom's spokesperson said the limited and delayed police intervention was unacceptable. Hundreds of police officers were on campus and around the perimeter on Wednesday. State officials and university leaders have said they immediately deployed security personnel to the tent camp on Dixon Plaza when clashes erupted just before midnight on Tuesday. But several people on site said law enforcement did not act quickly enough. Law enforcement simply stood at the edge of the lawn and refused to budge as we screamed for their help, UC Divest at LA, a group involved in the encampment, said in a statement. The BBC has contacted UCLA and LAPD for a response. Protesters started leaving the site roughly 2 hours after the attack began, and police had established control as day broke on Wednesday morning. Governor Newsom himself condemned the violence in a post on X, formerly Twitter, separate to his office's statement. "The law is clear," he said. "The right to free speech does not extend to inciting violence, vandalism, or lawlessness." He said those responsible must be held accountable, including through criminal prosecution, suspension, or expulsion. Citing law enforcement sources, the Los Angeles Times reports there were only a few UCLA police officers on hand, and they retreated because they were outnumbered by the crowd. According to the newspaper, reinforcements were called from California Highway Patrol in Los Angeles, and it took 3 hours to bring the situation under control. The overnight clash at one of America's top public colleges took place only hours after police in New York City raided and cleared a Columbia University building taken over by students. Protests at Columbia against the war in Gaza have inspired similar actions at universities, small and large, public and private, in more than 24 states, with activists demanding that institutions cut financial ties with Israel and companies profiting from the war. On Wednesday, state troopers arrested 17 anti-war protesters at the University of Texas at Dallas, while the NYPD arrested at least 15 people at Fordham University in the Bronx. UCLA canceled classes on Wednesday as it sought to ease tensions on the central quad of its Westwood campus. The university declared the pro-Palestinian encampment, in the shadow of its Royce Hall, an illegal gathering on Tuesday. Footage online shows that, as midnight approached on Tuesday, a large pro-Israeli group donning black outfits and white masks arrived on campus and attempted to dismantle barriers. Campers, some wearing goggles and helmets, and others carrying placards and umbrellas, rallied to defend their makeshift space. Tonight, they escalated to a whole new level. They started inciting violence, one pro-Palestinian student activist told the BBC. Dylan Winward, a reporter with the Daily Bruin student newspaper, said the counter-demonstrators had thrown objects including fireworks, a scooter, water bottles, and tear gas. The Bruin also said on social media that 4 of its reporters had been assaulted and sprayed with an irritant early on Wednesday morning by attackers who recorded the incident on their mobile phones. Mary Osako, a UCLA vice-chancellor, said police and other first responders were called to the scene of its encampment over horrific acts of violence early on Wednesday morning. "We are sickened by this senseless violence, and it must end," she said. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass slammed the clashes as absolutely abhorrent and inexcusable. By morning, a tight security cordon was in place as a handful of protesters fortified their encampment. It remains unclear how many of the people involved in the nighttime chaos, particularly on the pro-Israeli side, are students at the university. The Los Angeles chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations blamed the violence on a mob of pro-Israel extremists. Jewish Federation Los Angeles, meanwhile, blamed the university's chancellor for allowing an environment to be created over many months that has made students feel unsafe. Pressure has been mounting on college leaders to rein in pro-Palestinian protests as they spread across the country. Earlier on Wednesday, New York City Mayor Eric Adams said several out of some 300 arrests at 2 New York campuses had been outside agitators. Kindly like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section.